host. And tonight our guests will include Eric Sweet, head boys coach at Oak Harbor, Ryan Fretz, Clyde boys coach, and Blaze Bainey, the Clyde girls coach. They'll be with me here tonight. Glad to have them with us. Of course, we have Nick Roth, our on-site engineer, handling things in the video and the audio and making sure that that people say that we really do have faces for radio. So the good news is we're going to release some of the girls' information real quick. And Division I girls basketball, the sectionals, your Fremont Ross Little Giants took a number 2 seed, and they'll be waiting the winner of Bowling Green and St. Ursula. They're going to play on the 21st, and then Ross will play on the 24th at 7 o'clock. If they win there, then they're going to go to Cary on February 29th to take on the winner of Sandusky and Toledo Start. So give you a little idea on the D1. On D2, we've got quite a few teams playing here. Port Clinton and Clyde are going to match up on February 22nd, 7 o'clock ball game. And the winner will take on the winner of Mansfield Senior in Ontario. And, of course, the top teams at home for those games. And then if we look at the districts are at Old Fort. Bellevue got a number 2 seed. They don't like to take a bye, Coach Sweet. They like to play. And so they'll get in the tournament, and they picked they're going to play Toledo Woodward, and then they're going to finish up 2 days later and take on the winner of Astoria and Scott girls. And then they'll move into the Old Fort tournament, and they'll be dealing with Lexington, Vermilion, and a foe they know too well, Norwalk. All will be coming out of that district, that sectional in the district. And then Division 4, we got Gibsonburg. Gibsonburg girls, they're pretty good ball club. And they are sitting at number 1. They'll be waiting for the battle between North Baltimore and Holgate. And should they win that, they'll move into the district at Otsego. And they'll be taking on the winner of number 2, Lakota. And Woodmore will face up, and the winner of that game will potentially mate up with Gibsonburg in the district. So a lot of action on the girls' side. With me right now, Coach Eric Sweet, and your tournament draws coming up this weekend. So is there any politicking going on right now? Or I know that there's a little bit of an art to the draw.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. I've been part of it now for many years, and you just said that about Bellevue not taking a bye, and that's always interesting what coaches do, what coaches don't. Right. It kind of depends on your team, healthy, not healthy. Do they need to play? Do they not need to play? How long of a break you have. And so there is a lot of politicking that goes on and figuring out where people belong or where people want to go, and it adjusts your overall say in it. But, this year not this year, but last year we did it too with the rankings being predetermined. We don't have to vote for that anymore. Right. That was something new 2 years ago that we did. I like it. It takes out a lot of that politicking early on, trying to get a few more votes here and there and helping out each other. This is kind of taking that away and letting the computer do its job. And so we'll be intrigued to see what comes out of it next Sunday afternoon, and we'll see what happens. And hopefully we get something we enjoy and take advantage of it. And tournament time's, the best time of the year. Everybody's 0-0. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we're just weeks away.
Yeah, we are.
It's just so funny. We just talked about it weeks ago. Yep. And here we are weeks away. Yeah, in the old days, there's quite a bit of politicking going on when you'd have your teams that get together. And if you're in the league, you generally would help vote for your teams in your league. But sometimes coaches wouldn't do that, create a little animosity and just a whole lot of stuff going on. So it's kind of like, I think upgrading into the current system makes sense. Mm-hmm. Takes a lot of that noise out of there. Mm-hmm. And just focus on who you're going to play.
Yeah, when I was in high school, our sectional and district was almost our entire league. And so
everybody knew.
Yeah, so it was even harder because you couldn't help each other out because it was all league players.
Sure.
It was all league teams. And so our sectionals and a lot of our districts were teams that were in our league. And so that took that idea of what you said, kind of help each other out in the league, kind of went away because it was everybody in the league in the sectional, and so you had to rank each other amongst that too. And sometimes it doesn't go in your favor, but now with the new system, I think it's the fairest way, and I think they do a good job with it. And Martin IPI last year did a great job with it, and this year Max Prep's doing it. So we'll see what happens. Max Prep's taking it over this year, and they seem to be doing a good job with it. I know Martin IPI still does it and still does his thing. He does a great job with it.
Well, in the old days, we used to, for the boys' side, it used to be always the NOL and the SBC would match up at the big house in Sandusky.
Yep.
And boy, we had some great matchups. I mean, it was
Yeah.
phenomenal. And of course, now those leagues have kind of merged, and you've got your 3 divisions and a place that you guys at Oak Harbor had hung your hats for a long time. Oak Harbor, just for those of you that don't know, Oak Harbor used to be in the Sandusky Bay Conference years ago.
Yep.
And then had left, and then came back, and then recently left.
Yep.
And so you guys are in the NBC now, right?
Yes, this is our first year joining the NBC again. It's an 8-team league. Us and Maumee came in this past year to form the 8-team league. It's a great league. I love the SBC. I love the coaches I coached against in the SBC. But as far as our crowds and our gates and all that type of thing, the AD side of it, I guess you say, the NBC has been great for us.
Yeah.
You know, we've always played Genoa. We've always played Eastwood. But now that, you know, we play Lake and Rossburg, those are great games, and they travel well. I've joked with the SBC coaches about, you know, the bridge, the Edison Bridge was always something hard for those teams to come over to Oak Harbor.
Right.
It was the big bridge. They couldn't cross it.
It was the same way coming back, too.
Correct,
you know,
correct.
It's like, oh, my gosh, it seems like such forever. But there is an economic value to your travel and distance, right?
Yeah.
And, of course, a lot of the rivalries that you guys had in the past, always with Genoa, always with Otsego and Lake and those Eastwood especially. I mean, those have always been there and kind of maintained. So instead of it being a non-conference, it's a conference game now. And that has worked out for you guys. You guys sitting right now at 9-7. I know you'd like to be in the double-digit wins by this time of the year, but, you know, things have transpired. But the league is pretty tough. We've got Fostoria at 8-2. A lot of parity.
Yes.
Genoa and Eastwood both at 7-3. And Lake and you guys both at 6-4. So that a little more than half the league, there's a lot of parity right there, and I think that makes it competitive. And night in and night out, you got to be prepared if you want to win in this league.
100%. And it was a great time to get into this league, and we're excited for it. And we were on a roll there, and this past weekend we hit a little hiccup, and we got to learn from it this weekend. But we were competing and getting after it, and we're sitting at 6-4, like you said, and we still got Fostoria here coming Friday night. And if we can win that one, like you said, they'll go down to three losses, and then we'll need a little help. By the end of the day, we're right there. We're competing for it. We still keep those SBCs on the schedule as we have Huron this coming weekend, and we play Margaretta. And so we play Vermilion early in the year, and so we do keep a lot of the SBC guys, Port Clinton, a lot of the SBC guys that I know and enjoy coaching against. We keep them on the schedule as well.
When you had Bellevue come in, and Bellevue, one of the top teams in the SBC, you know, Lake Division, and in that case, Ryan Fretz has sent me a message. I wonder if he's saying stretch out, coach, and running behind. I don't know what running behind means, but I'm expecting he's not real quick. So running behind, he might get here a little late. So we might have to talk a little bit.
That's
we might
fine.
have to break down into a pickleball tournament play. So, but in that case, I mean, Bellevue, a really good team, and they're one of the teams that kind of came in your play, or you went there and had a rough go of it. So, you know, you had 2 nights that kind of very much mirrored themselves. And as you and I talked on, very well, and of course, you and I both know that you can live and die by the 3, and not that you guys do. You'll just take the open shot if it's there. But in the meantime, a lot of missed opportunities to score can really deflate a basketball team. And you know, when you have the shooting that you had the last couple of games against good teams, it can be deflating. And so, where are your kids at? I mean, they're able to mentally flush that all out and get ready for this next game, because the next game against one of the best teams, the best team in your league.
Yeah, and we talked about that. You know, we are a offensive-minded group of kids. We are, like I said, we are more offensive-minded players. I have a bunch of guys that can score the basketball, find the open man, make the extra pass, and it's been beneficial to us. We won 5 straight there, and we were sharing the basketball. We were making shots, and a lot of our defense is predicated on our offense. And you hate saying that because you want it to be the other way around, and I was raised that way, the other way around, that your defense can dictate your offense. But with this group this year, our offense dictates too much of our defense. And that's something we're going to really preach this week in practice, is getting back to letting our defense dictate our offense. And it's going to take a challenge, though, because our kids, like I said, are more offensive-minded, and I enjoy that side of it, don't get me wrong. I do like shooting it and getting up and down the court, and we've been doing a good job with it. But this weekend was not a weekend for the Rockets to shoot the basketball, and it shows in the scores. But previous to this weekend, the 5 games prior to that, we were shooting the ball well. And if you look at our season, like you can see it right there in front of you, you know, we won 2, lost 2, won 2, lost 3, won 5. And so we are kind of this up and down
ping-ponging a little bit.
A little bit, you know. And when we play well and score the ball well, we are definitely a hard team to guard. And then we are better defensively. But when you miss some shots and then you kind of get deflated there, then all of a sudden defensively you give up some straight line drives that you don't want to give up as a coach and as a team. And we did that. And the next thing you know, you go from down 2 to down 5 to down 7 to down 11, and it's kind of just snowballing. And you need that shot to go in. And this weekend we did not get that shot to go in for us. And so we couldn't really stop the proverbial bleeding, I guess.
Well, talking about that, just as you and I talked earlier, that you had played Bellevue, and I watched Clyde and Huron, who you've got Huron coming up, and Clyde's up by 22 at half, and Huron outscored them outscored them by 12, I think, in the third quarter, and got it down to 9. And we both had commented that, boy, if Clyde doesn't get a shot in the hole here, you know, this thing's, you know, Huron's in the chance of, you know, upsetting this ball game, and they ended up getting a shot. And then another shot, and then all of a sudden the color came back in their face. And it's just kind of the weirdest thing. All of a sudden everything came back in place. Basketball is such a funny thing that just a couple little instances can tie it together or it can make it all fall apart, right?
Yep, but I can go through every game this season and talk about 2 or 3 shots that went down for us that allowed us to propel into a win. Right. And then the games that we lost, I could talk about 2 or 3 shots that kind of took us off the other way that propelled us into losing the game. And so some happened earlier than others, some happened late. You know, we go back to the Madison game at Cedar Point, we lose by 2, and we had a layup to tie it. We get our own offensive rebound, missed the putback, missed 2 free throws, and so that's just one example. But then we went to other games and we knocked down the free throws at the end of it when it mattered against Chanot at home. And there was games like that we did those things. And so we got to, you know, go back to that and show them that and build our kids back up. And I think they're ready for the fight because, like you said, it's ending towards, or you know, we're going to the ends of the year and tournament time's coming, and you want to be playing your best basketball. And so we'll forget about this weekend and get better.
Yeah, you have 6 games left, and I'm looking at your losses. And your first loss, you lost by 5. Next loss by 7. That was on the road. Then you lost by 4. Then you lost by 2. You know, you're only really, I won't say all losses are bad, but you lost significantly, lost by 13 to Fostoria at Fostoria. But, you know, those are all winnable games. Those are all winnable games. And so, you know, you could be talking about a completely different story. Losing close is not awful. It's character building.
It is, but it is still awful. Let's not lie about it.
Yeah, you don't want to lose.
You don't come out to these games trying to lose the game. You go out trying to win. And so, we had some close ones early in the year, and you know, I thought it made us tougher, and I think that's where their 5-game stretch came from. We got better from those losses, and then this weekend we just we hit a bad bump in the road, and I was joking with my wife the other day. I don't believe in these things, but I kind of laughed on the way home Saturday night. Friday on the way to Eastwood, a black cat crossed the bus, and I saw it. And Saturday night, I'm coming home by myself, kind of late after sitting in the coach's office, going through town. And all of a sudden, I see another black cat cross my way, and I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" So I'm hoping that the weekend was just a bad omen, and we can get back to it and get back to playing basketball. And I think we will this week.
Well, you can remind the kids. The kids will get fired up having Fostoria at home, and that's going to be this Friday.
We got back-to-back home games.
You do. Yeah, you do have another back-to-back, and last week was back-to-back for you also.
Yeah.
So then after that, you've got another back-to-back. So you got 3 back-to-backs in a row. Wow, you've got Fostoria and Huron, and then last week in Eastwood, Bellevue, Fostoria, Huron, and Maumee, Margaretta.
Yep, and then we go Tuesday, Friday to end the year with 2 league opponents on the road. And so, we got a lot to play for still. And like you said,
absolutely.
I mean, if we can win out our league, we'll at least have a fighting chance, and we need a little help then. But end of the day, take care of what's in front of you, and that's all you got to do. And so that's what we're going to do this week.
All right, so if you could wave the wand and say, okay, listen, I've been a good coach, and I've been great to the kids, and, you know, I'm building them up, and I love the community. Just grant me this one wish right now that I could have to choose to inflict on my basketball team. Is it offensively or is it defensively that you would use that wish on?
It'd be
or something different.
It'd be offensively right now because when we shoot the ball well, we are so much better defensively. Yeah. We're more engaged, we're more energized, and we talk about this and preach about it all the time in practice, and you try not to let it dictate your defense. but we have a lot of kids that shoot the basketball and shoot it well. And so when they miss their shots and they miss open shots and they miss shots that we want them to take, because we encourage our kids to shoot the basketball, we really do.
Sure.
And so there isn't too many times that I walk out of possession like, man, that was a bad shot for us. That's a shot we want, and so we take it. But then when you miss them, it does kind of snowball down. And so right now, yeah, I would take shooting the basketball, putting the ball in the hole, because that's something we did not do well this weekend. And when we have done it well, we're a tough team to beat.
Well, you said your identity is if the offense is clicking, the defense follows them versus the other way.
Yes.
And everybody's identity is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for some squads, they might come out and be cold as they can at the basket, but they start making steals. And I'll give an example. Bellevue's a pretty good example. They got guys that can shoot it, but they don't always come out and shoot well. But if they start throwing a press at you, and they've got 6'4", 6'5" out in front of the press, and you can't handle the ball, eventually that momentum kind of clicks into offense and vice versa. So, you know, being able to, well, we'll see what we can do to get some of that on your way. We might have a few wishes to grant here before the end of the year and get that to you. So let's kind of veer off base just a little bit here, and let's talk about the fact that, you know, Oak Harbor basketball, you've got some kids coming back. Right.
And I have one senior this year in Danny Allen, who's been spectacular for me. I mean, he's had some monster games for us this year. At home, he's been a rebounding machine. He's our energizer bunny. He plays his tail off. And being the only senior on the team, that's incredibly hard to do. And I give nothing but respect to that kid. But after Danny Allen, then, we are loaded with juniors.
You got 5 juniors. Yep. You got, 4 sophomores and a freshman.
And our JV team has some nice sophomores on it, too. And so we got some kids coming through the program that are going to compete and get after it, and we got some choices to make as the years go ahead. But yeah, having one senior is a little different this year. Something I'm not really used to. Usually, you try to have 3 to 5 kids that are seniors. You want to have 3
to 4 each class, right?
But this year we only have one. Like I said, in DA, we respect and love him, and he plays his tail off, and he's our heartbeat. But and he got into foul trouble at Eastwood, and that kind of hurt us. He's our leading rebounder, and he's the guy underneath the rim and does a lot of things like that. But moving forward, we got some great young talent coming up. Some of them are playing varsity, some are playing JV, and we're going to get them varsity minutes here as soon as we can. Maybe if it comes summertime, that's what it is. But we got a lot of kids coming up in the program that we're excited about.
Well, you're going to have a ton of depth next year because you're going to have, right off your current roster, you're going to have 5 seniors. And then you have like 2 or 3 sophomores on your team. Now you have a freshman on your varsity team. And you had, 2 or 3 more sophomores. Now you got 5 seniors, and you have 5 sophomores, and 5 juniors and a couple sophomores. I mean, I was always told if I could have 3 or 4 in each class, I'd be happy. Now, a lot of coaches aren't necessarily going to want 3 or 4 freshmen, but on the varsity. But if they can play, you want them there.
Yeah, and right now we have a freshman playing up there in Zach Hallett, doing a great job. One of our defensive guys, he's a defensive specialist right now for us this year. He works incredibly hard on his offensive game, though, too. But as a freshman right now, he's really defending the best player for us and doing a good job with it. And so he's having a good year. But like you said, we have a couple of sophomores and Steinbrück and Slates who shoot the ball well for us. And this weekend wasn't a great one, but like I said, we're going to forget about that. But prior to that, they were shooting the ball really well, and they're going to continue to shoot it. And we're going to encourage them to shoot it. And we want them to shoot it because when they shoot the ball, we're harder to defend.
So having balance in your lineup, which it seems to me you're going to have balance in your lineup moving into next year, how's it looking down underneath the freshmen in the junior high level? Is participation good?
Yeah. Our junior high, we have some good numbers down there. With them going to the new League 2, it's been a little different for them at the junior high level. But I believe we have 12 in the 8th grade level and 8 in the 7th grade level. And our 6th graders, we have 2 youth teams there, 2 youth teams in the 5th. We have a 4th grade team, 2 3rd grade youth teams. So we have a lot of kids coming up in Oak Harbor that want to play the game of basketball. And I'm excited for that. And, that's something that you look at and you're excited as a head coach. But at the same time, you want to focus on the team that you have at hand and who's in front of you in the next game. And we're doing all that. But at the same time, that's my job is to be around those youth and both junior high and biddies and encourage them and make sure they're getting in the gym too.
Well, you want them to feel like how do I want to say it? You want them to grow up knowing that, hey, I want to be an Oak Harbor basketball player.
Yeah.
Years past, that was a given, especially through the early days with Dave and Donnie and Danny. And the Greg Holman days and all those days that, the Oak Harbor basketball was, just ferocious in reference to how everybody approached it. But in this case, especially in a community the size of Oak Harbor, you want to get every kid you can because you're not having a bunch of kids jumping in or growing in or transferring over. It's like this is who we have.
Yeah, Oak Harbor has
Right?
great. Yeah, we have great history. I mean, you named a lot of the guys that
Absolutely.
you just rattled off a bunch of guys there that are great. And one of the main reasons I'm here is because one of those legends coaching
Yeah.
at OG. And so
Yeah.
I was able to fortunate enough to come to this community, and we're building it. And for the example, this past weekend, even though we had a tough weekend, my team still showed up and supported our youth program.
Yeah.
And during half times, our kids went out there and played 5-on-5 with the youth players. And
Right.
those are the small things that the kids don't see, but as a head coach, it helps build your program, and it's something that I know the kids thoroughly enjoyed. And they've been coming to a lot of our games and watching our JVs and varsity players play. So it's nice for those high school kids to go down and watch them play at the youth level too. And so that's something that you try to do, and that's everything that coach tries to do is try to build the program, K-12. And so
Well,
that's
you
what we
wanted the message to be everybody belongs.
correct.
And everybody participates and everybody can play.
Yep.
It just so happens that you're grooming a couple little young kids that were just barely getting basketballs up to 6 foot, now draining threes from the outside. So, I always said I was going to try and stick to this job till I could do your kids' games, but unfortunately it looks like that's not going to happen for me. But the good news is that things are in good hands in Oak Harbor.
Appreciate that.
With Eric Sweet. Thanks for coming in. Hope you have a great weekend back-to-back this weekend. Fall Story at home and Huron at home. So if you're not doing anything, go over to Oak Harbor and enjoy some pretty good contests.
Appreciate that. Thank you for
All right,
having me
Eric
on.
Sweet, glad to have you. We're going to take a time out and get ready for Ryan Fretz, who's just going to be jumping in here and running just a little late, but we'll get him in here and get him to settle down, talk a little bit about Clyde basketball. Take this first time out. You've been listening to our Frickers High School Coaches Show live here tonight on Eagle 99. Coach of the Clyde Flyers and Coach Fretz. I don't know, how long has it been since you've had 3 wins in 1 week? Do you remember?
Yeah, ironically, it was 2 years ago. We had looked at that because the Huron name was pretty significant when we looked at that because we had won 7 in a row in January of 22. We had knocked off Sandusky on a Friday, beat somebody on a Saturday, and then turned around and beat Perkins on a Tuesday. And then we had a big snowstorm with all the freezing rain and whatnot, and we wanted to play Huron on Saturday because they had won 8 in a row and we had won 7 in a row, and it was a good game getting us ready for playoffs and the tournament coming up. And we got waxed by 30. So they nipped that streak in the butt really quick, and we didn't win 3 in a row last year, and for us to be able to put 3 in a row this week together and then to get the third one against Huron kind of had some little, I guess, poetic justice with it kind of, and Boys worked really hard to get it, and we had to knock down shots at the end because Huron cut it really close.
Sure. Well, I was looking at your schedule. I mean, you opened up with a couple losses. One of them was just a 2-pointer to Ashland.
Yeah.
Then you won. Then you won against Vermillion. Then you lost 3 in a row. One of those was in overtime.
Yep.
At Bowser. Home against Bowser. Then you won in overtime against Lake. Then you had 8 in a row. And out of those 8, 4 of them were all, we're talking 4 or 5 points, 1 overtime. Those games were fairly competitive and could have went either way, but you guys were in a position where you're like, we've got to do something here. Then you run into Edison and you just came out, and all of a sudden, and you know what I told you the other night? I said, it looks like your boys have finally figured out how to play.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a continuity they've developed over the last 3 games. It doesn't matter if it was Edison, Norwalk, which is a very good Lake Division opponent.
Good team. Yes.
Beat them by 7, then Huron beat them by 20, and it's kind of like it appears to me, and I'm not predicting, but it appears to me that you guys have found it at this point in the season. So now it's a matter of sustainability, correct?
Interestingly enough, that's just what we talked about today. We'll sit down on Mondays and do some, culture stuff with us. We call them PGMs, Personal Growth Mondays, and that was today's lesson, building versus sustaining.
Right.
And we've spent, 17, 18 games this year building.
Right.
And you can see, like the week before last, we had 3 games, Bellevue, Willard, and Perkins.
Right.
And you were at the Bellevue game.
Right.
It was closer than the 56-45 score.
Absolutely.
The 75-71 game to Willard was back and forth.
Right.
And then overtime to Perkins.
At Perkins.
So, beginning of the season, we were still young and still learning about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we had a bunch of guys back off of the team, it was back off of a team that still had struggles of their own, and it was a 4-win team.
Right.
I think we grew at the beginning of our year, had a couple wins in there, but those close losses, they were opportunities to learn. They weren't failures; they were just opportunities to learn. But I think it was that week before last where we had 3 close games against very, very good teams.
And Bellevue, Willard, Perkins, all good teams.
That's where we learned to compete.
Yeah.
And we kept telling the boys, okay, we've got there, we've climbed that rung, we've got to that, little mountaintop,
Right.
but now it's time to win. It's time to learn how to win.
Right.
And to be able to do that 3 times last week and watch the boys' confidence grow as the ball's going through the hoop. But more importantly, for us, the beginning of our year, we put an emphasis on defense. And again, offense always comes before defense. And you can see that with our season this year. But to be able to hold teams to 40, 45, and 42 for us who had been given up, we've been giving up over 60 points on an average this year. We were ranked.
I think 60. Your average was like 66 or 68.
Yeah, 66 was right, and it was. We were ranked in like 193rd out of 200 teams in Division II.
Right.
So we sat down with the boys and we showed them that after halfway through the season, and said, "Listen, guys, we set a goal earlier in the year. This is where we wanted to be defensively. We're not there yet. So as much as we think we're working at it, we still got some work to do. So we reset a goal of where we want to be from that point forward in our last 8 games. And, it was at 55 was the average because we usually think we can score about 60.
Right.
So 55 was a good number that the boys agreed on. And lo and behold, over our last handful of games, I think we just dropped down to like 54.1.
Right.
So we're doing it, and we've put more of that emphasis on defense, and it's getting done. It's going to be tested like crazy on Friday, though.
Well, you've got 4 games left.
Yes.
So let's talk about – now you talked about this wonderful ranking of defense amongst all schools, but you didn't talk about strength of schedule.
Yes.
Of all those schools. So let's talk about that, because a birdie told me that your strength of schedule showed you guys had a little bit tougher schedule than a lot of the other teams that you're playing with.
That's correct. It makes I don't know who the coach is that put that schedule together. He should probably be fired.
Yeah,
but
him or the AD.
No, it's me.
It can't be the AD because he just gave me a nice Clyde shirt.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't say anything bad about him.
No, like when I first got here 8 years ago, I wanted to strengthen up the schedule a little bit. And, looking back at it now with the teams that we've had the last 2 years, it's probably, I'm kicking myself in the butt for it. But at the same time, this year's schedule has really developed the team we have right now. We just kept saying, listen, how do you make a diamond? I mean, you do it with pressure. You do it with pressure. You do it with toughness. And it's worked. Now, we haven't got as many wins as we wanted.
Sure.
But, I mean, our opponents, when you add up all of their win-loss records, it's at a 60%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you look in our little district where we're ranked, no one else has a 60% opponent's winning percentage.
Right.
So it's only made us better. Record doesn't show that, but the teams that we've played, in the way that we're playing now, it does show that.
Well, that's why I want to bring that up, because for a lot of folks and fans, I mean, we don't fault them. They don't know these things. That's why we talk about them on coaches' shows, so that people can get educated. Because you're sitting in the stand like, gosh, Klein, they lost all these games. Well, listen, they're playing good teams. And the fact that it is that, so let's give them, you've been on a 6-game tour that you lost 3, were competitive, which then set you up for 3 that did very well. And I thought that the moment of truth was when you guys had Huron, we did your game. I don't think in as 40 years I've been doing this, that might have been the best shooting first quarter I've ever seen by any team ever. And we looked at each other like, oh my gosh, I just can't. I mean, in the first 5 possessions, 5 different people scored.
Yep.
And that's when I knew, okay, these guys have kind of figured this out, because I can tell the difference when someone's thinking about shooting versus someone is just confident in shooting. And so, therefore, no one was thinking about it. I'm open. I'm shooting the ball. And when you have that kind of confidence, it just kind of breathes amongst itself. And so, in that case, you guys came out like a ball of fire.
We're not, in all honesty, the boys really are not that. They're not that used to being that open, I guess.
Right.
Not many teams have played a zone because of the shooters that we do have.
Right.
So when we see a zone like that and we can hit the backside corner or hit the backside window or the wing, and our guys don't have, Huron was long, but you can overload a zone and skip it and get open shots. They kept coming back to the bench. Oh, I hope they stay zone, coach. I hope they stay zone.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. But then you saw what could happen in the third quarter.
What they did is
they extended their 2-3.
They extended it
and
out,
used their length.
and it cut down a little bit on the passing. And you guys, I hate to say it, but they're human. They're kids. They're teenagers.
Correct.
And when you're up by 20, Huron came out of the locker room like, oh my gosh, we have to even play the second half. But their coach got them to play.
He did.
On the other side, your guys are like, hey, man, this game's up by 20, and you lose your edge. I don't care who you are. You are going to lose your edge. And so as you guys started missing shots and the ball quit moving as quickly and they extended the zone and some of those cross-court passes weren't there and people start fumbling the ball around, Huron just methodically got back in the game. They cut it to 9. And so I looked at my partner, Brad Bannister. I said, okay. I said, here's the moment of truth. I said, somebody has to start making shots for Clyde to right the ship, because the basket seemed to be closed off, and then Olsen decided to go on an 11-0 run of his own, and the game's up to 20, and now the game's over.
Correct.
But that's what you want your key players to be able to do. Is, okay, it's your turn. I need you to get this done. And he had not been shooting the ball well, and everybody's trying to stop him, but they couldn't.
No.
And he put on what I thought was an act of leadership. I thought that was exemplary, and everybody else followed. And it took 2 baskets for the whole team to now, which was out of sync, to completely be in sync, and everything was good, and you win by 20. And the coach from Huron comes up to me and goes, do they always shoot like that? I said, not always, but they kind of have been. He goes, it was impressive. Yeah. And they did all they could, but you guys, just really played well. So now you get to move to probably one of the best teams in the area, Sandusky Blue Streaks, at the Big House. Then you have Port Clinton, and they're not easy.
Nope.
Columbian, who's always tough. You've got them at home, and then you get to have Bellevue at home, and you get to change that. And that, by the way, that game has been changed
correct.
to Wednesday, a Wednesday game that we haven't had a Wednesday game in forever due to the fact that the girls' tournament is the next day.
Yeah, both our girls' teams play.
Both are playing.
Clyde and Bellevue girls have a sectional game that night.
And so therefore you're able to move that one to make that announcement. So
correct.
You've got a 4-game season now to find out, where exactly are you moving into the tournament. I mean, you're not going to win the division, obviously that's clear.
We're mathematically out.
You're mathematically out, but you're in a position that a couple, 2-3 wins over these next 4 could really put you guys in a great position and be not an easy team to play in the tournament.
And that's what we're looking for. We still have room to grow, a lot of room to grow, and that's what our talk was today. Just the Huron game showed it just in the third quarter.
Right.
And it's interesting because we had talked about, the pathway to success isn't a straight line, up. There's valleys,
Peaks and
valleys, ups
yeah.
and downs. And, we had one in the middle of the third quarter. And, ironically enough, earlier that week in our Monday PGM, or actually it was, our Monday PGM with Coach Schetzer, who helps us run them, he showed a video of a girl from University of Minnesota. She was at an indoor track meet, and she was leading the indoor 600, and she got to the last lap, the bell lap, with one more 200 to go, and the Penn State girl behind her clipped her foot, and the girl trips. And the Minnesota girl trips, flips over her own feet, gets up, and wins the race.
Yeah.
Okay, she's in last. She wins the race and passes everybody. And when they interview the girl afterwards, she doesn't even remember tripping. She thought, I thought I just fell over, pushed my hands, used my hands, pushed back up, and I just kept running because, that's what she was trained to do.
Right.
We brought that up in the middle of the third quarter. Listen, we just tripped.
Yeah.
We tripped. The game's still going on. We're still winning. We can still win the game. We can still win the moment. Right. Trips happen. And I think our boys responded well to that. And I think you said it best with Braden Olson just stepping up to finish what the rest of his team had done for him up to that point. He was having trouble scoring, having trouble knocking down from outside. And all of a sudden, 11-0 run by Braden to top the game off. It bookended a great start to the game, a great end of the game, and that's what I like about this team. There's a lot of pieces to it. Sure. Now with Caden Perkins and Chase Castle playing well inside for us, where Perk can change shots, and Chase is a big body to post up with or hard to get around, and then we got guards that can put some pressure on you, and guys that can shoot from outside. Sure. So on any given night, you don't know if it's going to be, is it going to be Braden? Is it going to be Brennan? I mean, it could be Ben. Ben dropped 6 threes against Edison. Right. Cedric Messer's been scoring a lot for us recently. Price Carter's been a blessing coming off the bench to add a spark for us on both the offense and defensive end. And our big guys, underneath are getting rebounds, finishing, and running the floor for us. So I think all 4 of these games that you mentioned pose great matchups for us. They're 4 different teams with kind of 4 different styles. That'll get us a good look to see how good of a well-rounded team we truly are moving forward.
Well, a couple of things that I just noticed from the ball game is, one, Perkins has improved dramatically. Mm-hmm. He played an excellent game against McNulty. Mm-hmm. He just played very good. And there's opportunities where he could have caved back or, took a step back where he's held his ground. Castle, on the other hand, as long as he catches the ball eye level or above, he's okay.
Yep.
We got to get him better from there below, but he has proven to stabilize his game.
Like if you would have seen him play against, Caden and Chase, they're built different, which is really good when it comes to our team.
Right.
If the other team we're playing has more of an agile big like McNulty, from here on, it's going to be Perkins. Right. It's going to be Caden's night. And Chase understands that. Yeah. But the night before, when we're going up against Ben Rothar, who really struggled to score against Chase, because Chase was bigger and harder to get around, it was Chase's night inside. Yeah. And for us to have the ability to have 2 big men like
complement
that.
each other.
They really do. When at the beginning of the season, we were kind of struggling just to have any big man.
Any big.
So the development of those two have
Yeah.
made our team, and our guards will be the first ones to tell you, like, they know we needed a big man to be successful. So, I mean, you've had guys like Braden Olsen stay after with Chase and Caden Perkins to work with them on dish into a post player,
Right.
getting them a good pass so they can finish.
And for them to be able to pass out, too.
Oh, yeah.
And for them to pass out, which is big, because if they start collapsing on them, they can kick it out and one of those other guys can shoot.
Yep.
There's another key point I want to bring up before I let you go is that you talked about Price Carter, and we had talked about him pregame. There was one point in that third quarter where you guys hadn't scored in quite a while. And Carter came in the ball game. He took a baseline drive, and as they collapsed on me, just kicked the pass out in time for you guys to get an easy basket underneath. And I said, that fundamental play right there was key to getting you guys on the board and scoring some points. And shortly after that is when Olsen did his thing. And I thought fundamentally he plays a solid fundamental game, and so he brings another element. So you talk about complementary pieces, right? And you've got them. Now let's get through this 4-game stretch and see how it's going to play out, because you guys are in a pretty good place. It'll be pretty interesting. I'm glad I get to watch it and watch it happen. But for you, the Clyde Flyers basketball team has, I'd say you guys have turned the corner. And as you said, you're learning from what happened, and you're in a position where, you know, you're going to have a lot of these guys back for next year.
Yeah, I agree.
And you're in a position where, you know, it's all good. So,
yeah, I mean, we'll miss our seniors, you know,
Sure.
Ben and Kenyon.
yeah.
And I mean, they both work so hard. They set the tone in practice, and you know, their leadership within practice. And, you know, Ben on the court, and, you know, Kenyon being the role player that he is for us, but gives us so much on the bench during the games. One of the first guys to stand up when a three goes in the air, and, you know, just works so hard.
He's filling his role.
His role. He is. So, I mean, we'll miss them, but we got a lot more to do with them here yet.
Yep, absolutely. All right, I got to let you go because we got to get your counterpart there, Clyde, in on the air, and that's the Blazer. So we got to get the Blazer in here tonight. So we're going to let you go. And, of course, thank you, Ryan Fretz, for joining us tonight. We look forward to the next opportunity that we have.
Thanks for having me, John. Appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. All right, our final timeout. We're going to get Blaze Bainey in here from the Clyde Girls program. We're going to do that right after this on Eagle 99. My good friend Blaze Bainey, the head coach for the Clyde Girls, and it's going to take a little bit of me getting used to calling you Coach Bainey, even though you have been coaching for quite a while. I used to cover Blaze's games when he played, and here he is making me look like an old dude. And he's coaching. He coached on the boys' side for a long time and had the opportunity to switch to the girls' side, and now the Clyde girls program is solely in your hands. So tell me how it feels. You know, your whole career at Clyde has kind of twisted and turned. It's all been positive. Mm-hmm. But how does it feel to finally be able to put your hands on the wheel and say, okay, this program's mine, and I get to create what we're going to do here? How does that feel to you?
The first word that comes to mind is extremely exciting. The next thing, just to kind of point that out, is it's exciting. I put in a lot of work to kind of get to this point. I've learned a lot from Coach Fretz, who was just previously on. Mm-hmm. I've talked to coaches outside, to Toby Bickle. Let's see. We got Coach Keller at Margaretta. I mean, I've leaned on these guys, too. I talk to them all the time. I mean, it's been really exciting to kind of put my fingerprints on a program and see the satisfaction and the kids enjoying being there and seeing that, you may not win a ton of games to start off, but, man, it's fun, and we're getting better each and every day, and it's really rewarding and it's gratifying. So, again, it's very exciting, and I'm proud to be given the opportunity to run the girls basketball program here at Clyde.
Well, you've kind of earned it. And I think it's, how do I want to say this? There's an age-old saying that you never get a lot of credit in your own hometown because you're from there.
Correct.
And so, if you're from somebody from out that came in, they might cut you a little more slack, or, might not scrutinize you as much. Mm-hmm. But when you're in your own hometown and you're there, it makes it tough because, one, the people that know you want to be able to get your ear and say, hey, you need to, right?
Yeah, absolutely right.
Does that happen to you?
Oh, it's happened a couple times.
Yeah, and so and I've never been one of those. So, but I mean, it happens. I mean, if I saw something, I'd pull you aside and say, hey, I see this going on, whatever, and just help you. But a lot of time people use that as a way to whatever. But it's just very difficult. Now, you guys, you're 7-13. Mm-hmm. How many wins did the team have last year?
They were 10-13 last year.
10-13. Okay, so there's a good chance, depending on I don't have your schedule in front of me.
Columbian, then top it off with Perkins, and we start our sectional against Port Clinton.
All right, so Perkins, and so those are two teams that you guys can play well, that you guys could win that.
Correct. Yes.
And it would be good to get a couple league wins in against a couple good teams before the tournament starts. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the key stat for you guys is you're averaging 42 points a game. It's not lowest in the league. Columbian is at 31. But you guys are giving up almost 51 a game, so it's that 9-point difference probably reflects in a lot of your scores are probably give or take 8 or 9 points, right?
That's correct. I mean, go ahead.
And so I was just going to say, so that's statistically that's got to point to, okay, how can we score a few more and how can we give up not as many?
Correct.
Right.
We're toying with it right now. To kind of go with that is we're learning how to play at a faster pace than the previous regime. I mean, right. Dave Lozier, love him so much, love him to death. Great coach, great teacher. It's just a difference of styles. At the beginning of the year, we really wanted to get up and down, and some injuries occurred. It kind of took away some players, and we had to adjust to what we had with our current players that we have. So we're learning how to now just play good half-court defense because we're a little banged up right now. I think we have about 7 players on IR on the varsity. Yeah, 7 of them.
Oh, wow. Wow, so I didn't know that. So how many starters are out?
Right now we have Katie, Brooklyn, Reese. They're out. Our one starter, Tatum Jeffrey, a freshman, she's playing on one ankle. She doesn't have a good ankle. So we've had some starters like a Sunstock. She's been in and out with bad knees. And so, I mean, it's everything. All these coaches' experiences at one point or another. I just feel like I'm getting about 3 seasons worth within 1 year. But that's okay because the girls are enjoying each other. They're learning. I'm telling you, I know our record doesn't indicate it, but our girls are learning a ton, and they're enjoying it. And they're coming together, and the record-wise, it doesn't look great, but I tell you what, our camaraderie and our culture in our locker room is fantastic.
Well, that's critically important, especially with the girls, because it's no slam. I mean, I've been a fan of the girls program in Clyde forever. My daughter played there, and all the success and the things that have happened over the years. But The one thing I noticed is because your leading scorer went down and has been down, it's forced other people to have to score. And maybe, how do I say this? You can't just always, someone's down, so I'm going to grow up and start scoring 10 a game. It doesn't work that way. You have to grow into being a counted-on scorer versus just scoring in natural progression. But
if it were that easy, all of us coaches would
Yeah.
look fantastic
you
all
guys
the
would
time.
look good, wouldn't you? But you do play a lot of freshmen, and you've been playing Kensley Goon, and you've been playing Tatum Jeffrey, and those two, not to single them out, but they've been forced into action. And Tatum Jeffries reminds me of the one girl at Bellevue that
The Reese girl.
she reminds me a lot of Reese. Same type of ball player, and which is good because she's solid, good. She's built good. She's got good strength, good. She sees the court, just a lot of good. And Kensley Goon just has a head for basketball, and you can tell that whenever you bring her in the game, it seems to settle down for your team.
Correct.
I don't know what it is. It's just whether she fights for the ball or she's in the right place or she makes a good stop or makes a good pass. And, she's got some growing to do. But I think it's good to have a couple younger players that can get that kind of experience because you're going to get more out of their careers because they did. Now, it doesn't help that you have players go down
Correct.
because now you're losing experience, some scoring, some continuity. It's kind of like I can't make stew with not enough stuff to put in it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But girls have to grow quickly, don't they?
I would say the way I phrase it, we are the youngest, oldest team probably in the state of Ohio, in my opinion. We have 7 seniors,
Right.
and we play 3 freshmen who play significant minutes on the varsity floor. And then top of that, we have a sophomore who's been starting in Reese Daniel.
Right.
And then
and she's been a stalwart part since last year. I mean, she came in last year as a freshman because physically she's strong enough and she's able to do stuff. But the problem is when you're younger like that and you come in, they're not watching you. You're the beneficiary of them not worrying about stopping you. They're worried about stopping the other kids, and you get some easier looks and some easier stuff. Now, as a sophomore, like, oh, no. We've got to stop you, too. And it just kind of changes, right? So the intensity goes along with it. But I think you've done a great job with the team and the fact that you're changing the style of play to the players that you have and setting the expectation. So let's talk a little bit about the JV squad for a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, so now they know what's expected, and the goal of JV is – that when they get to the varsity level, you're not having to coach them too much about what's expected and what offenses and defenses and how to break presses.
Correct.
You're not having to do that. It's just plug and play, and let's get this team molded together, right?
Absolutely. Janetta Friedberg's done a great job. She's
Yeah.
come in as a JV coach. High
Right.
energy. She's almost as high energy as I am.
Right.
So
She's like the male version of you, to be honest. I mean, I was kidding her dad the other day because I've known the family forever, and I said, yeah, Janetta, she's not quiet out there, is she? No, she's into the game.
Absolutely, she is. The kids know, like when they come from her, they come to me. There's not
Right.
a change of voice. It's we're on you. We're going to continue to have high expectations for these ladies. And from the JV perspective, I mean, we've been blessed. We have 30 kids in the program,
Right.
which is a great number to have. I can take some kids some days, if they're performing well, I will reward them by bringing them up to the varsity practice.
Right.
If they're not doing so well, we have the option, hey, all right, you need to go back and refine your skills
Right.
with the JV players, which is not a bad thing. They're
Play.
young.
Play.
Right, and then they
Play.
can learn that, and they can be more confident coming on the varsity floor. Again, we have a hodgepodge of kids right now.
You do.
We have 3 freshmen. We have 2 sophomores, a junior, and then we're playing 4 seniors. I mean, we've got kids across the board, and they all enjoy each other. We're starting to finally – I really think we're finally starting to click and understand how to play together because we're learning a new system, new terminology, just in general – the expectation is just really high, and again, we're all adjusting. I mean, I'm adjusting. I'm not
Right.
even close to where I want us to be at, but I'm learning it's just a different animal, and it's also different from being the guy giving suggestions to the
Right.
guy making decisions.
Yeah, well, I knew, and I won't say who it was, but I knew a coach at Clyde that was a JV coach and moved up to the varsity level. And I watched his first game, and And it seemed to me like the game was a little too quick for him.
Mm-hmm.
I said, so what was it like there? He goes, well, you know, he says, I wasn't used to being the guy calling the shots at a game of this tempo.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you have to learn. The other thing is, okay, here's the DNA of Clyde basketball moving forward, but I still have to adjust it to the players that I have.
Correct.
Right? So you're teaching fundamentals, but you want to win some games, so you got to adjust it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to make a comment about something that I saw when you guys played Bellevue.
Okay.
So I noticed you're playing Bellevue, and Bellevue's not a bad basketball team. You know, they're number 2 seed, and they're pretty good. In fact, we got your tournament stuff here. You've got to play at Port Clinton. Is that on the 22nd?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we have that game for you. I believe that we will. But and Bellevue is at home against Woodward. And then if you win that, you'll take on the number 1 seeder Ontario, one of the two, probably Mansfield Senior.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are those games at the
Host site is the higher seeded team.
the higher seeded team for the sectional? Okay. So they get to do that. So, but I'm watching that game against Bellevue, and things are a little out of kilter for you guys, and the kids have been struggling. And you bring in another freshman off the JV squad, the Ray girl,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden the ball's going across the defense and not fumbling it. And here's a girl that is slight in build but knows what to do, and threw the ball quickly and did what she was supposed to do. And I thought, you know, you get a couple players like that, I mean, it can change the game because the game was not too big for her.
Correct.
And I thought that was really surprising to me. Now, I know her parents. I've known them for a long time, and I've kind of kept an eye on her, but she's not the only one. And you got other freshmen that are playing good basketball. But it would seem like there's some continuity in that age bracket.
Yes, and I'm going to credit the seniors first because the seniors have brought them along. They haven't
Right.
been, you know, oh,
You're a
the
freshman,
Yeah,
yeah.
the seniors have been fantastic. They've brought them on like they're the seniors themselves. I tell you what, the kids enjoy each other, so they're not afraid to make a mistake. They're not afraid to
Right.
do those things. And, again, they're gelling. They're starting to see it. They're getting used to the game. Did we bring up the freshmen quicker than anticipated? Yeah, I mean, it happened. I mean, injuries
You almost
happen.
didn't have a choice.
Correct. So, I mean, that's just kind of the way the season's been. But I tell you what, I know I hate to say this, but, like, big picture-wise, we're getting there. We're getting there,
Yeah.
you know, brick by brick. It's little piece by little piece right now. And the seniors are probably one of the biggest reasons why we're getting around because they're allowing these players to grow.
Right.
They want them to grow. They're not being selfish in any sense.
Well, that was their DNA when John Cahill coached here. Because what John used to do is he'd take a couple girls. I'll give an example. Jenna Kinnear and my daughter Rachel play together. And when they're in 5th and 6th grade, he would pull them in with the 7th and 8th graders and take them on road trips and give them a little bit of time and just get them used to what was expected and get them used to the other girls. And the other girls would buy into that, and they built camaraderie. So there wasn't any of that pecking order stuff going on. People just playing.
Correct.
And with girls, it's different with girls than it is with guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you kind of looks like you've kind of figured out the equation to make it work, which I'm proud of you. I'm just telling you that, knowing you from your days on the bench as a player, to see you
Right.
now, for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to watch this kid grow up and do this, and this is like just so awesome for me. You know, for me, doing this for almost 40 years, it's a real joy to be able to see what you're going to do, and I can see the picture. Now you just got to paint by numbers and get what you need to do to get there. But you will have your first game at Port Clinton on the 22nd.
Correct.
At 7 p.m. So Clyde fans, go up to Port Clinton. I happen to live there. I wouldn't mind doing that game because it's in my hometown. Well, not my hometown. Clyde's my hometown, but it's where I live now. It'd be very easy for me to do that game. But either way, we wish you the best, and thanks for coming on, and we appreciate you, and we're going to keep a close eye on what's going on with you and the Clyde girls.
Well, thank you, John. I appreciate giving me the time to talk about our girls. I'm always willing to talk about our girls and how great they are. Again, I appreciate the opportunity and wish us well. All right.
Well, all right. Well, you're a great representative of what's going on over there in the hangar in Clyde. All right, well, we're going to finish things up here. We've been at Frickers, our high school coach show. My last show for the year. Could be my last show ever, depending if my relocation happens the way it's planned. But at Eric Sweet, we had from Oak Harbor, Ryan Fretz at Clyde, and Blaze Bain. Of course, our chief engineer on site, and that is Mr. Roth, Nick Roth, helping it, and Aiden Klein back at the station. So for all those folks and fans of Frickers here, thanks for staying with us. Thanks for staying tuned. Tournament basketball is coming up in a few weeks, get ready. You'll hear all your favorite games live on the BAS Sports Network. So, for all the fans and those at Frickers, is John Cohn saying good night from Frickers. Good night and God bless.